So what we've seen in the recent years since Office 365 was introduced is that we see more and more smaller companies or just companies who are not ready to spend the money that bigger companies spend for the full trust SharePoint, like having a SharePoint server or farm with databases and IT personnel. So these new type of customers, the smaller ones, enjoying from a great Office 365 environment, which is a subscription based and has no maintenance cost. Uh, it was and it is really a great thing from Microsoft. But with that, customers discovered that there are still many things missing. And this could be from forms to scanning and printing and aggregation and many other gaps that we know from the full trust, and we see them here as well. So in the recent 3 years, we've been preparing for this, or even more, um, by developing a new set of apps. This is a complete rewrite of our add-ons. So we have both the add-ons for on-premises, still supporting SharePoint 2007, 2010, 2013, 2016, and a new set of.
Nimrod, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but seems like I have received 4 people saying they cannot hear you. Can we please check to see if everybody can hear you? I have a few requests here saying they cannot hear you.
Do you hear me?
I can hear you. Can please someone type if you can hear Nimrod or not? I have just right now some people saying they cannot hear you. It says volume is very low.
Volume.
But very low sound. But they can hear. Yeah, very low.
Is that better?
Yes, that's better.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So what I'm going to introduce now is this new set of apps, which, as I mentioned, is a complete rewrite, and also our pricing model has changed. Unlike per server pricing, here the pricing we have a more flexible pricing model, which also targets very small companies, like per user licensing, which really the purpose here is to try and target all kind of companies, the bigger ones and the smaller ones. Okay, so let's start showing you some of our apps. So the first app I'd like to mention is actually one of our earliest apps, and it's called the Cascading Lookup. And this is a custom column for Office 365. And it still amazes me every time since 2007 how come there is no such solution already out of the box in SharePoint, but that's the fact. So Cascading Lookup provide the very basic functionality of one drop-down, filtering the other, like in the overused example of region, filters the country, filters the city. So these are cascading drop-downs. In addition to that, there are some additional benefits in KWizCon Cascading Lookup column. The first one is that unlike the out-of-the-box lookup field that you have with SharePoint Online, here you can also look up a remote list, which is actually located on another site. So you can have cross-site lookups. Another nice functionality that you have with the KWizCon Cascading Lookup is the autocomplete. Imagine you have a lookup to a very large list having hundreds or even thousands of items. So searching such a huge drop-down would not be the best user experience. So with the KWizCon lookup, you can simply type, and this will limit the results that you see in the Cascading Lookup drop-down. Another key feature is when you have non-normalized data structure. In this example, I have a courses list where I need to look up the trainee column. And if you look at this screenshot, you see that the trainee column has several items with the same value. So looking up this column will result in a drop down that has the same value several times. So actually selecting one of these values, you don't know which item you actually chose from the remote lookup because you have identical values here. So what we have is also the ability to filter your lookup content by additional columns from the lookup list. So in this example, I added 3 filters above the lookup, which enable me to filter the identical values and really know, really find the one that I'm looking for. And the last feature that I'd like to mention with the cascading lookup is the ability to create a new item in the remote lookup list directly from your form. So instead of going to the remote list and doing it there, you can do it directly from here. We provide a customizable link which you can configure the exact caption, and once you click it, you get the regular new item form for the remote lookup, enabling you to quickly add additional items to this lookup list. Okay, the next app that I'd like to introduce is called Dynamic Column Permission. And this one also solves a very common issue of wanting to or needing to have dynamic forms in SharePoint. And when I say dynamic forms, I mean the ability to dynamically show, hide, or disable fields in your regular list forms. Let's look at a very basic example. I have here this IT help desk list, and we're looking at the new item form. And I have here these 3 fields: category, hardware type, and software type. Now, if I select the hardware category, of course, I would like the software type not to be visible because it's irrelevant. And same goes for the software category. If I select software category, in this case, the hardware type field should not be visible. So this is what I expect from my form, to be dynamic, to change according to my selections in the form. So let's see how we can configure it very quickly with the column permission column. So this is my Office 365 site, and this is my IT help desk list. Now let's have a look at the list before I make any configuration. So you see I have here the category, hardware type, and software type field, and now there is no dynamic behavior. So no matter what I choose in the category, the hardware type and the software type are still visible. So that's the out-of-the-box behavior. Now I'm going to the KWizCon column permission settings page. This is the settings page, and what I'm going to do here is simply create 2 rules that hide the relevant fields. So let's select the first field. It's called hardware type, and I'm going to add a rule now. I want to apply this rule in the new item form, edit item form, and view item form. I can also apply it in list views, but I won't do it right now. Next, I need to choose what I want to do with this field, so I can show it, hide it, or disable it. I want to hide it, but not always. Now I'm going to define the condition. So I'm clicking the new condition button, and I want to hide the hardware type field as long as category is not equal to hardware. And I'm clicking apply. So under the all rules section, we see this new rule written in plain English. It says hide hardware type field in these forms when category is not equal to hardware. Let's do the same thing with software type field. So I'm selecting the field. Again, I'm creating the rule which I want to apply in these forms. I want to hide it only when category is not equal to software. And I'm clicking apply. So we have here two rules. Let's see how this works. So I'm back in the IT help desk form, the new item form, where we see the category, hardware type, and software type. I'm just clicking F5 to refresh this form. And now we see the category field, but we don't see the hardware type and the software type. Now let's select hardware, and now we see the hardware type field. If we select software, we see the software type field and we don't see the hardware type field. And if we select any other value, we don't see neither of them. So it is that easy to make your forms dynamic without switching to InfoPath or any super sophisticated technology that requires learning. You just take this custom column and this column permission feature, and this enables you to switch your existing regular list forms into dynamic forms. Okay, let's move ahead to our next app. The next app is called repeating rows column. Again, it's another type of column that you use in your regular SharePoint list forms. And this one enables you to turn your list forms into multi-row forms. These forms can be expense form or project forms with multiple tasks. But the idea here is, again, to have this functionality of multi-row forms without having to go to more expensive or more technical tools which require technical skills, such as InfoPath. The way it works, if we're looking, for example, in the expense form, so in this form we have this is a single expense which includes several lines of details. Every expense details has its own expense type and amount. Now, the way it works is, behind the scenes, these details are actually saved in another list. So before you create your column, your details column in this example, in the expenses list, you need to have a ready-to-use expense details list that will hold all the details. So actually, with this column, we create a one-to-many relationship between expenses and expense details. So in this screenshot, you see 3 lines in the details column. These 3 lines are actually saved in 3 items in the expense details list. The next app is a small and nice app that again solves a very common issue. Many times you have long forms with many fields, tens, 20, 30 fields, and this makes the form less comfortable to work with. So how about, instead of this, having something like this? So let's go back to the IT help desk form, and let me show you how quickly you can convert it. So currently we have this form, and I'd like to change it, and instead of this form have 2 tabs. The first tab will hold the issue details. These are the fields that are filled by the end user complaining about some help desk issue, some IT issue. And the next tab I'll call resolution details, and this tab will include all the fields that are updated by the IT help desk engineer. So let's go back to the field group / tabs settings page. This is another app that you can take, you can download today from the Microsoft App Store and try it. Okay, so this is it. There is no designer here like InfoPath, for example, or any other designer. Everything here is about, again, about simple rules. So first thing I'm gonna do, I want to have all the field captions appear above the fields and not near the fields. This will help me save some space. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new group. A group is rendered as a tab, but also can be rendered as other rendering options that I'll show you later. So let's call our first tab Issue Details. And let's create some rows in our tab. So I have 1, 2, 3 rows. And now all you have to do is just click the plus sign in every cell and select the field that you want to appear. So the first field will be what's the problem, and the second field will be category, and next we'll have hardware type, and that's on another row. The next will be software type. But you know what? Maybe I'd like to see some of the fields next to each other, not one below the other, but side by side. So you know what? I'm going to change the number of columns per row and change it to 2. Now we have 2 fields in every row. What's the problem? Next to it, category, then hardware type, and then software type. Okay, so let's click apply and let's see how it looks. So let's refresh this form. And we have these 2 fields. Okay, we don't see the hardware type and the software type because if you remember, we have some rules that show the hardware type only if we select hardware, and same goes for software type. You can see that the captions appear above the fields and not near the fields. This helps to save some space here, and you see that we have 2 fields in a row. So what's the problem and category are in the same row. Now let's create another tab. So I'm creating a new group, and let's call this one Resolution Details. And I wanted also to have 2 fields in a row. Let's add some rows, and let's select our fields. So let's take the first one, assign to, and then issue status, resolution details, and I think that's it. You know what? Maybe I want the assign to capture the entire row. So I can say, okay, I want this cell only to have a column span of 2. So now assign to takes the whole row while the other 2 fields are side by side. So you can do all these kind of mixed layouts and arrange your form the way you want. Let's click apply. Sorry. And let's refresh our form again. So now we have 2 tabs, okay? But we can also arrange this not as tabs, but as accordion sections. Let's click apply, and I'm going back to my form and I'm refreshing it. So this time it looks more like accordion sections. Now the main thing to take from this small demo is that there is no sophisticated designer. We try to make this feature as simple as possible. So you don't mess with alignments of field, with pixels, with tables, with any HTML practical technical thing. You deal only with the logic, and you only need to decide which field you want to display and where you want to display them, but not with the practical layout of this form. And this is the main idea here, making it very simple. Okay, let's move on to our next app. Actually, it's two apps which are quite similar. They're called Conditional Formatting and KPI Column. These two apps are used in your list views, and they help in highlighting your data in a better way so you can clearly see the things that you want to be outstanding. For example, if you look here at the conditional formatting screenshot on the left, so you see that rows are highlighted by changing their background and foreground colors. So you see in progress tasks which are over, their due date is over in red. You see high priority tasks marked with yellow background and so on. So this is one way to highlight your data. And if you look at the right side, you see some examples of the KPI column. The KPI column enables you to add some KPI icons or progress bar. Now both the conditional formatting and the KPI icons work the same. You only define or configure your logic conditions based on field values and based on the current user. And according to these logic criteria, some fields appear with icons or with progress bar or with some highlighting. So a typical usage of this would be in some kind of a dashboard showing you aggregated data from various places highlighted. Now, all the features that I showed you up until now are part of a bigger app which is called KWIZ Conforms. KWIZ Conforms app is a forms and workflow app for non-technical users. It has many features, but the main thing here which makes this solution different than other form solution for SharePoint such as InfoPath or similar designer or design tools is this solution is really designed for non-technical users. And the way we do it, instead of introducing another super sophisticated design tool with proprietary forms that replace the SharePoint forms, we simply take the existing well-known SharePoint list forms and we enhance them. So it's the same list forms, but they appear as if they are on steroids. We just add our own layer of code on top of them, so it's the same forms, but they have many more dynamic features. Now, the benefit is that you get a tool which is a business user tool, which means it does not require a team of forms experts or workflow experts, but it empowers site owners. So any site owner can create his own forms without the need to wait for these forms experts. And the second benefit that this is a 100% SharePoint native solution. So unlike InfoPath or similar proprietary designers, because it does not replace the SharePoint forms but only enhances them, it means this is still native SharePoint. So all the SharePoint enhancements and add-ons and features will still work the same in KWIZ Conforms because again, KWIZ Conforms are SharePoint forms. It's the same. Unlike, again, solutions like InfoPath where you don't get the SharePoint extensibility features because InfoPath or similar solutions are not SharePoint. Okay, let's move on to a different app. This one is called Pace Plus, and this one solves a rather annoying issue you have in SharePoint. I don't know if any one of you ever tried to copy a Word document with embedded images to SharePoint. The result will be that you are able to copy the text, but you cannot copy the images because you need first to upload these images. So in order today to copy a Word document with 20 embedded images in it to a SharePoint wiki page, what you need to do is go open your Word document, save each of the embedded images locally on your disk, so 20 times save them, and then upload all these images to some library in SharePoint, let's say site assets, and then you can copy the Word document to the wiki page and then insert each of these images to the correct place in your new wiki page. This is just for one document. Now, of course, this is not a feasible way of work when you need to copy several documents or tens or hundreds of documents. So let's see now how Paste Plus works. So I'm opening just an empty wiki page. Let's edit it. And I'm going to open now a Word document. So I have here a couple of documents. Actually, I took some user guides of ours and PDF documents and all kind of. And let's open one of the documents. So I'm opening one of the user guides. It's called File Controller App, which I'm not talking about today. I'm just scrolling down to see that I have rich text and okay, one image, two images, three images. Yeah, I have a couple of images here as well. 4 images, 5 images. Okay, and more. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to select the entire content of the document. So I'm pressing Control A and then Control C. So everything is copied. And I'm going here to my empty page and I'm pressing Control V or paste. It's the same. So you see there's a new kind of bubble, the paste options bubble, and this one offers you 3 options. The first option is to use KWizCon Paste Plus. This is our enhanced paste solution, or you can use SharePoint out of the box paste or just the text. So let's this time select KWizCon Paste Plus. Now look here at the right side of the page in a few seconds. Okay, you see 2 out of 11 upload in progress. So what happened here is that behind the scenes, Paste Plus opened the document, found all the embedded images, and uploaded them behind the scenes to a predefined library and embedded them into this new wiki page. So in one click, in one Control V, all the images were uploaded and embedded in this new wiki page. But you know what? I even don't need to open the document. I'm going to delete everything now here. Going back to my library, let's close this Word document. I don't need it. And I'm going back to my library, and this time let's select 1, 2, 3. I selected 2 Word documents and 1 PDF document. I'm not opening them. I'm still in Windows Explorer. I copy them by pressing Control C, and I'm going here and again pressing Control V. This will take a few seconds. Now look at the right side here again. Okay, you see 46 images are uploaded behind the scenes now. Okay, these are all the images from all the 3 documents. That's it. So paste is done. So we have all the images here of the 3 documents that we've just copied. Okay, so everything is here. So this is how easy it is now to migrate your documents to online wiki pages. It's just as simple as copy and paste. Last thing I'd like to show, and this goes for Excel and PowerPoint. Let me show you what happens with a PowerPoint document. So I have here, yes, I have this presentation. Let's copy it. Again, I don't need to open the document, the PowerPoint document. I'm just copying it, and let's paste it here. Now what happens with PowerPoint, every slide is converted to an image. You see 11 images are uploaded now because every slide has been converted into an image and it's uploaded to the wiki page. Okay, let's move on to our next app. Oh, I think I just closed my PowerPoint, so let's open it again. It's this one, sorry. Let's just go to the correct slide. Yes. Okay. The next app that I'd like to show you is actually one of our most recent apps. These apps are based on the new SharePoint framework, SPFX, and this one is called Aggregator Web. And what it does is it aggregates web parts. One thing before I mention it, the aggregator web part is actually a part of a set of tools which is called data view tools. Some of these tools are really upcoming. What we have released right now, just in the recent month, are the list aggregator and the remote list viewer, and later this month we'll see also the KWizCon image gallery. And during December we are going to release the calendar plus and the chart plus apps as well. They're all part of the same set of tools which is called data view plus. Now a few words about the features of the list aggregator before I show it in action. This is a really exciting one because you'll see it's all the interface is brand new. This is the SPFX UI, fully responsive. Now with the list aggregator you can aggregate or roll up items from lists and libraries from multiple lists, from multiple sites, and from multiple site collections. You can create multiple data sources which are aggregated and displayed in one consolidated view. The new thing about the list aggregator, when I'm comparing it to the list aggregator that we have for Full Trust, is here everything is very robust. So it's actually built of several controls allowing you to really change the UI truly Lego style. So you can put the controls that you want. It's grouping and tabs and filtering, and I'll show you in a minute how easy it is to change the entire layout of your list aggregator. But it's not just about changing the layout. We also enable you to change the functionality by, for example, you can add or change the global menus that appear above and below the web part. And also the web part comes with some item level actions which you can also change. You can go deep with the customization even by adding your own knockout script. So actually this is like a Swiss knife that enables you to aggregate and display things the way you want. Let me show you some examples, the user experience of the list aggregator. So let's go here. So this is the new experience page, and below this site I have three subsites: sub 1, sub 2, and sub 3. Each one of them has team task list and milestones list, and I wanted to roll up all the tasks into one consolidated view, and this is what I have here. This is the list aggregator. Let's see how it's configured. Okay, just before the configuration, so you see I have here some top level menus. I have here delete selected. I have paging at the bottom. I can add a new item here, and I have some item level actions. For example, email item properties will open my email with the properties of the selected item. I can edit the item or view the item. And as I said, and of course I can sort. I can find any task by typing something. It will find and reduce and show only the ones that match what I type. But I can also add some other fields to my filter. For example, if I want to filter by task status, all I have to do is just drag it here, and now I can also filter by task status. So show me only the ones that are in progress. Or you know what? Show me everything but the ones that are in progress, and so on. So it's quite flexible. Now let's see. By the way, also when I select some items here, you see here how many items are selected. Everything here it's showing this way because this is how the template was configured. Let me show you how it's done. So I'm going to edit the page. And let's edit the web part. So what you see on the right, this is the SPFX, the SharePoint framework tool pane, the standard tool pane. So first of all, when you configure the list aggregator, you need to define your query, the query that will be used to retrieve all the items. So we did not introduce any query designer, or we do not require you to write your query. We're using a built-in mechanism in SharePoint. In SharePoint, there's already a mechanism for defining a query, which is a list view. A list view defines which columns you want to retrieve, which filtering you want to apply, the sorting, the grouping, item limit, everything. So actually a list view is a query definition. So to define your aggregation query, all you have to do is just select a site, then select a list, and then select a view. This defines the aggregation view. Next thing you need to do is to manage your data sources, meaning from where or on which sources you want to run this query. So you see I have a single data source right now that I already configured. Let's see how it's configured. So the name is project tasks, and next thing you define for your data source is aggregation scope, and there are 4 scopes. You can aggregate through the entire site collection, or just specific site, or maybe specific site and subsite. This is the option that I chose for this one, or just specific list. So I went with specific site and subsites because I want to aggregate from all the subsites dynamically below this current site. And this is important. There are aggregation solutions where you select your lists. This is good, but this is limited because in a dynamic environment, let's take for example a project management environment, project sites are dynamically added. It can happen by the week or by the month, doesn't matter, but you don't want a solution that requires you to update the configuration of your list aggregator every time a new project site is created, right? So this way I chose not specific list, and I could choose specific list. I chose specific site and subsites. It means no matter how many subsites I will have, this will run properly. You can further limit your query by list title. So maybe I don't want to aggregate all the task list, or currently it aggregates all the lists. I still didn't define task list, but you can limit by name patterns. Same goes for site title patterns. So this enables you to limit your aggregation to only to sites that start with some that their name starts with some letters or end with some string. These two enables you to limit your query. Then you can limit your aggregation by list types, and you see that I already chose tasks. By the way, you can choose several list types, not just one. And This makes sense, for example, if I chose tasks and calendars, because both these types have due dates. So it can make sense to aggregate both of them and show them in one consolidated view. And finally, I can also limit my aggregation with a selected content type. So that's it. This way you can create multiple data sources. When you have more than one data sources, all of them are aggregated and the result is merged and displayed according to the sort rule that you have in your aggregation list view. Okay, so we have this. Now, what about the layout? To change the layout of this grid, we open the designer. I click here on the open designer button, and we have here the designer, which I can make bigger if I want, but I got used to having it on the side. So first of all, you have all kind of titles that you can change. You can put a static title. Let's put the biggest title and call it project tasks. And once I change anything here, it automatically reflects immediately. So you see the results immediately. So this is the main title. It's quite big. I don't like it. But if you look, currently we see the tasks title, right? Let me just refresh this. We see the task title. We see the task title because of this. This is the small title, but what it says here, we see here a formula which says text uh, source and then dot title. This is because you can put, in addition to static text, you can use our snippets. For example, here we use a snippets that puts the data source title, but you can use some other snippets. Now, the first thing we see here, we see also no selected items. And this is the description line. Again, this is a snippet. If I open the edit formula, you see here we have a snippet that says selected item count. This is what it shows. It shows you the number of selected items when you check the checkboxes. If I don't want it, I can just delete it. Now let's go ahead. Next, we see a menu bar, and this is what we see in the main content, a menu bar. The menu bar has several configurations. It has two top actions, if you see, two buttons. This one which selects all the items and this one which is called delete selected. This is because I configured here two buttons and I can add more buttons. So you have complete control over the global menus on the top. And in the bottom, if you remember, I had a, let's go below, new item. Let's go back and see the new item. This is the new item button. Let's see how it's configured. So you see this is a script. This is a knockout script that just add a new item, which means you can add whatever action you want, and we provide you the entry points, so you can use the root to get the context and use component object to get the control context and so on. So we give you the entry point, and from this point you can do whatever you want. Next, you see there's a filter. That's because the menu bar contains the filter. And currently in the filter, there's just one filter in text box, but let's add some more. I want to filter by priority and also by task status. You see now that I have two more filtering controls. After the filter, we have paging. Let's see the paging. So page size is 10, but I can change it. I can configure navigation buttons here. Currently, the paging shows only below the content, so you see it only below the web part. I can also add it to show above. Now it shows above the content. So it's up to me how I want to show it. And below the paging, there's a table. This is the table. And if you want to configure the table, again, These 4 actions are here because I configured them. Now, if I want to change the table, let's say to something else, let's change it to a list. Okay, now it looks more like a mobile UI list. Or you know what? Maybe I want to group or have tabs before the table. So you know what? Before the list, I'll put tabs, and I want it to be the tabs to appear according to task status. But I can do it also according to any other field. So let's say according to priority. Each tab will hold tasks in different priority. Let's see how it looks. So let's close this and save. So now I have these filter controls, which I didn't have before. I can do whatever I want here. I have these tabs, which are according to priority. So again, everything is customizable here. Let me take you to another example. This one aggregates events, event budget items. And you see that I configured grouping here. The nice thing that I want to show you here is I changed one of the per item actions here. Now it appears as a circle. And when I click it, it opens a map showing the location of the event. Let's see how it was done. So again, I'm opening the designer and I'm going directly to my list. This is the list that we see, and let's go to configure list, and we have this action, and this is the action that interests me, action number 2. So what it has here, I just edited my own piece of knockout of JavaScript that opens a pop-up, takes the value of the city and passes it on to Google Maps. Quite simple, but the main thing that I wanted to pass to you is that the flexibility here to really customize it to any level that you want, up until just code whatever you want using Knockout. But even if you don't want to mess with Knockout, you still have a variety of controls to change the layout by adding filtering, grouping, tabs, tables, lists, whatever you want, and you control what you see everywhere here. So this is the power of this list aggregator. Okay, I think this is the last one that I'd like to mention. This is called Scan App. It was also released quite recently. We have our Scan Full Trust solution for a long time. This one exists just for a few months. Just a quick overview. It enables you to scan and upload just in one click. Let me show you a quick flow of how it is to work with it. So when you click the scan document, you see this, of course, this ribbon button after you install the Scan app. The end user gets this pop-up that allows him to choose between edit settings and scan, or scan using default settings, or quick scan, which shows nothing and just shows the uploaded document when everything is done. When you select the first option, you can select your settings, like which output format you want to scan, to PDF or to an image. You can provide a file name, including using some tokens, and you can select if you want a single or multiple files, meaning should every page become a file, or maybe all the pages become one file. And then when you click scan, you see the result in the scan previewer. And here you can do some additional image processing, very basic image processing actions. If you save to PDF, which is the default, so by default this will result also in searchable PDF document, which means it supports OCR. You can add additional languages. By default it comes with English, but it really supports, I think, most of the languages. And then you save it. And when you save it, you are redirected to the SharePoint properties page to provide mandatory data, and there you have the document added to your library. Uh, from admin perspective, there aren't too many settings for the scanning solution. The one that I'd like to mention is the ability to compress large files before upload. So you can, as an admin, check this property. This will make big scan files zipped before they're uploaded to SharePoint. This was just a quick overview. As I said, there are also there are also some other apps that I didn't cover. This is just a peek. Of course, all of them are available on our website and on the Microsoft App Store. They're all available for unlimited trial period. So you can try them as long as you want, not just 1 month. What you will see is a bit of annoying message saying this is a trial version, and of course you are more than welcome to contact us and ask questions or ask for private demonstrations on any of the apps that interest you.